All right, hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday. It's September 2nd. I wanted to make a video kind of going over everything there is to go over about Detroit River walleye jigging. It's my favorite type of fishing we do here. I normally go over a few times every year in the month of April over to Detroit. I'm basically going to break the video up, kind of going over all the gear I use, budget rods and reels setups, more expensive rods, line weight, jig size, plastics I like to use, and then kind of move into like tips, tricks, and then techniques. Just kind of talking about it in general. So if you're new to the channel, which more than likely you are, just kind of getting started here, I like to do a bunch of fishing. That's kind of what the main of the channel is going to be, fishing and car videos. I was actually looking to go do some more salmon fishing, salmon jigging tomorrow, but it looks like it's going to be raining pretty much all day. So I decided I still wanted to try and get a video made. So talk about what I love most, Detroit River walleye jigging, and hopefully I can get out Thursday and get another salmon fishing video out to you guys. So let's not wait around. So these are my rods that I've been using the past few years out in Detroit. They are the Berkley Lightning rods, medium light. I really like the light action. Even with 1 ounce jigs, the light action is super fun, and I've never had an issue with it being too light on the river. My go-to is going to be the 6-foot version of the Berkley Lightning rod. I have a 6-foot, and I have a 6.6 or 6.5. Yeah, well, yeah. 6.5, yeah, that makes sense. Medium light though. Light tip fishing in the river is so much fun. You feel everything. And I have that matched up with a Lew's Mach 2 spinning reel. As long as you got a good 2,000, 3,000 size reel, you're gonna be fine. Even I've used like Amazon reels, a brand called Handing. Those seem to actually work really well for the price. I think you can get a nice 2,000, 3,000 size reel for 30 bucks. Really can't beat that. I like the Berkley Lightning rods a lot because same thing, you can get them for 50 bucks. And I've had zero issues with them. Been using them for years now on the river. And you don't feel bad if you bang them up. And luckily I haven't broken any, but if you break them, you know, you're not out custom rod money. So 50 bucks, you can't beat it. I honestly think this whole get up here is probably around 100, 120. I forget what these reels go for, but I know they're getting older now, so you can probably find them pretty cheap. Mach 2. I always liked just the size of the reel itself. Feels really good in your hand. But I've been using Fireline on the river. I believe it's made by Stren. 10, 15 pound braid. I've had same thing, no issues with that, and it's not too strong to where if you get snagged up, you can grab your spool and snap off if you need to, because that is definitely something that's going to happen in the river. So yeah, Fireline. You want to do something high vis, like a bright green, bright yellow, bright orange, just so you can see it down in the water and make sure you're keeping your line vertical. I do back my rods up with some sort of fluoro or mono. Honestly, I forget. I think my dad and I redid those reels last year or the year before. And yeah, we backed them up a bit. If you're looking to get into a little bit more pricey range of rod, this is actually made by Dipnet, that is local out in Detroit. They make their own Denali series rods. And I actually just picked this one up, so I can't talk about it too much. I have not fished with this on the river. But I decided I kind of wanted to treat myself and try something a little new. This is a medium heavy, which it's going to be new for me. But I always fish with 1 ounce jigs, so I have a feeling it'll feel pretty similar, just a little bit more backbone. I'll see how I like it. But if not, I always got my Berkley Lightning rods to go back to. I'm not exactly sure what reel I'm going to put on this. But it'll be something real similar to what I have on my other rods. And with this one being orange, I have not fished the Beyond Braid brand on the Detroit River, but they make a bright orange high-vis Beyond Braid. I think I'm going to give that a shot on the river. I've used it before, all the Beyond Braids. It's a really good price, and I've never had any issues with it before, so I can see having no issues on the river. But if you're not looking to try something new, Fireline. Almost anybody you talk to on the river is going to be using Fireline, 10, 15, maybe 20 pound braid, and it works great. It stays high vis. It does fade over time, but a good tip that I actually learned from a friend of mine, a lot of people like to switch their line out every year. I mean, that gets real expensive too, so run your line for a season out on the Detroit River, and then when you're ready to go back the next year, basically take your end and use that, connect to your backer on another reel it in, so all that line that's been sitting on the inside of your spool will be nice and fresh. I mean, chances are it's never even seen the water, so it's brand new line. Why waste it when you can get 2 seasons out of some good Fireline? So I'm definitely going to be doing that from here on out. And I've used faded 2 or 3 year old line on the river. Same thing, never really had issues with it. I mean, you can change your line every single year. Just have that peace of mind, and I don't blame you, but I never had issues with a 2, 3 year old line. And chances are, well, no, let's say fact, you are going to get snagged fishing the Detroit River. So you're going to be breaking off here or there and, you know, get into that new line that's been sitting on the inside of your spool anyways. So chances are that line's not even too old. Getting into jig heads, I always like to use, personal preference, I always use 1 ounce jig heads. I have tried 3/4 ounce, but with the depth of the river, you know, the mix of the currents with the top water, with the current on the bottom, just getting down quick and feeling the bottom for sure, you know exactly where you're at. I always like using 1 ounce jig heads. So to be totally honest, with the walleye run going through the river, I've kind of come to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter what colors you're running, you're gonna catch fish, okay? As long as you can keep your line vertical, you're gonna be catching some fish. And honestly, I think the plastic color doesn't matter as much as I think certain jig head colors can be hotter than others. So I've always, this year, I think I used white 1 ounce jig heads the entire time and caught, I mean, multiple days of limits on white jig heads. My go-to is going to be pure white, an eye is okay, or even just pure white 1 ounce jig heads. I actually caught my PB on a pure white, no eye at all 1 ounce jig head this year in the Detroit River. Second go-to is going to be chartreuse. I've got a bunch of different kind of mixes of the chartreuse that I go through. You know, you can do the Pimp Daddy, green and pink, green and black. Ball heads are always good, but same thing, I've caught fish on the more realistic looking jig heads. Like I said, if you're fishing the river, you're gonna catch fish. Don't think about it too hard. Don't be changing plastics. Yeah, you know, every other cast, don't be changing your colors. You're gonna catch fish. It does take patience. But as far as plastics, I do always like to use the split tail. I don't even know. I mean, 3-4 inch plastics. And if you can go to, there's always a sports show in Grand Rapids, Michigan every year. You can get bulk plastics for really cheap. So find something like that where you can just pick up a few of every color, try what you like, see what you like. I really did well on these colors this year, so it was going to be white 1 ounce jig head with the blue and silver sparkle, and then I think, honestly, I ran out of them because I used them so much, but it was this plastic with a chartreuse tail instead. I did catch fish on the orange tail, but the blue and chartreuse really worked well for me this year. Year prior, honestly, it was something more so realistic like this, and everyone was making fun of me because it's oh so ugly, but it catches fish. Can't can't talk bad about it if it's catching fish, right? But here are just some other examples. I mean, purple chartreuse, all purple sparkle, purple blue sparkle, all green, green and red, green and blue. Like I said, the color of your plastic, it's really not going to matter that much when there's literal millions of walleye running through the river. If you're jigging in the right cadence, you're gonna catch fish. I've caught fish on even black, sparkle, and so 2 years ago I actually did really well on paddle tail plastics, which I don't even think I have in this tackle box right now. But you know, like the swim bait paddle tails, I used that the entire trip, and I caught my limits every single day. So don't think too hard about your plastics. If I had to recommend, if you're going to buy one type of jig head, I'd recommend an all-white 1 ounce jig head. You really can't go wrong with it. But if 1 ounce is too heavy, 3/4, 3/8, getting real light, but I've seen people do it. But I would definitely stick between 3/4 and 1 ounce jig head. That is the way to go. A few other random colors that I have tried and have caught fish on, but doesn't necessarily seem as consistent. Purple, all black. This was a good one, the chartreuse orange. Chartreuse is always a good color over there, so any variations of those are going to work. I even caught fish on a little Wonder Bread action this year. I think this was a local Michigan company. I do not remember by who though. I do think that's about all I wanted to say about gear, other than use your stinger hooks as well. I promise, use your stinger hooks. They're easy to make, but also you can find them. Pretty much any bait shop's gonna have them over there. Or if you know any charter captains, chances are they'll make them and sell them. I know Third Coast Charters, Todd Venema, he makes his own and sells them, and those have never done me wrong. I've had my cousin who makes them himself, same thing. But if you're gonna be fishing the river, it is 100% worth it to fish with stinger hooks. A lot of times too, you know, in the water, jigging up and down, those walleye are going to be timid and they're going to bite at your tail of your plastic. So if you're not having that stinger hook there, you're going to be missing a lot of bites. A lot of times too, I catch fish, get them caught up, and they have just that stinger hook and the tail in their mouth. But that doesn't go to show that's the only way you can catch them. I always, every year catch plenty of fish on through the jig head bite too. So, but I think if you're not fishing stinger hooks, do it. You'll catch plenty more fish. I think that's about it as far as gear. Yeah, I recommend 6 foot. That's my favorite length. You do want to stay closer to the boat. The further you out you get, it seems to be just a little more difficult for me. So I like that 6 foot. Seems to be perfect length for me. And I love the medium light. Yeah, I've never had issues with it. But a lot of dedicated rods are medium heavy, so take with that what you will. But I'd say just get out and try it. If you're trying it for the first time, don't spend a lot on a setup, and you will still catch fish. Don't think like you have to go out and spend $300, $400 on a setup just to catch fish. I guarantee, I feel like my setups are pretty cheap, and I guarantee there's guys out there with $30 combos that are catching just as many fish as I am. Price does not affect anything on the Detroit River. So, kind of get into some tricks and tips here. The hardest part, I say, about fishing the Detroit River is going to be your pilot, the person running the boat. Having a trolling motor, I don't want to say it's a must because people have been doing it for years without them, but it's a huge help. And it's really is kind of the hardest part of getting used to fishing the Detroit River, is getting used to running the boat, and being able to move with the current, move with all the waves and all the boat traffic, and keep your lines vertical. That is the hardest part. And so keeping on the pilot, say your pilot hooks a fish, you net that fish, and you also have a second rod ready to go. So as soon as you get that fish in the boat, your pilot can drop straight back down, see where he's at, see what he needs to do to keep all of your lines vertical. Because if your pilot catches a fish, nets it, let's go, taking photos, this and that, chances are your boat's going to be way off, moving against the current, and no one else in your boat's going to be able to keep a line vertical and stay fishing. And the big must with keeping your line vertical in the Detroit River is there is a lot of just everything along the bottom. I mean, shipwrecks, trees, rocks, you name it. I mean, you can only imagine what's in there. Shopping carts, tires, whatever. And the top of the water is moving so fast where if your line is not vertical and you're dragging across that bottom, you're going to get snagged. And it happens to everybody. I mean, that's just part of fishing the Detroit River. But you definitely need to main focus, keeping you and your boat's lines, keeping them vertical. Definitely one of the hardest parts of getting used to fishing the Detroit River. As far as actually fishing yourself, I recommend, I do see a lot of people too, holding rods back here. And like I said too, a lot of the bites are going to be real timid. So you're just barely going to feel that hook set either on the fall or right as you're coming up. So I kind of like to choke up on my rod and hold the actual rod itself. And you're going to get a lot more feel out of that than holding back here or holding your reel. You want to get up, choked up on your rod so you're feeling everything that's going on. And as far as technique, basically as soon as you're touching the bottom, you're coming back up. Because like I said, that top current's moving so fast. As soon as you're touching that bottom, if you stay too long, you're going to get snagged. So as soon as you're hitting the bottom, come up, touch, come up, touch, come up. And you can mess around with your cadence. You can mess around with the height, super low jigs, high jigs. Honestly, I feel like every year I just kind of go through the motions and do it different and see what works. I mean, the bites change every year, not by much, but you just gotta get a feel for it. Feel that bottom, boom, boom, up, and go from there. I mean, I haven't personally noticed if low jig, high jig is necessarily better on the river. It's more so important that you're hitting the bottom, coming up, let it fall, hitting the bottom, come up. And you're also not whipping your jig up. I mean, you see a lot of people do it. A lot of snagged fish that way too. But you don't necessarily want to put slack in your line where your jig is flying up and falling down. Because when there's slack, that's my luck, right? I hit slack, miss a bite because there's slack in my line, and that's just how it goes, right? So keep that line nice and tight. Oh, keep it tight. Let it down. Touch. As soon as you touch, come right back up. Yeah, like I said too, just choke up on that rod. It may feel goofy too, because a lot of times you're not fishing up high on your rod like this. Just try it out and let me know. I have, once I started doing that I think probably two years ago, I have not changed. It feels way weird holding way down on your rod or your reel. Nope, just choke up. You'll feel 10 times. So another point I wanted to make, actually fishing, you want to keep your rod tip to about as low to the water as you can, because a lot of the bites come either almost at the peak or on the fall, so your rod's already up, even if your rod tip is basically at the water. So if you're staying way high up and then you're jigging way high up and you get a bite up here, where can you go with the hook set, right? Keep that rod tip not in the water, but almost right above that water. So when you're coming up and you get that bite at your peak, you're almost level. So then you still have space to set that hook, right? That I wanted to talk about some launches over there. I really like the Trenton Channel launch. It's just a nice launch as a whole. It's pretty efficient as well. What's the... Oh man, I can't... Oh, Bellinger Park. I use that launch every year as well, but it seems to be a lot slower paced. Normally, in the heat of that April walleye season, it's going to be real packed. I mean, you're going to get there at 4 in the morning, and there's going to be a line out, half mile of full of boats and trucks. I don't discredit that launch at all, but I really do like the Trenton Channel launch, and especially if you're running over to Detroit earlier April, a lot of those fish are still going to be coming right out of Lake Erie, and so Trenton Channel is just going to be a lot closer to that. I think this past year, like we were third week of April, fourth week of April, and we tried Trenton Channel first, and basically stayed there the whole weekend. We did launch at Bellinger Park once or twice, but it was hot. I mean, even late April, it was still hot, right coming out of Lake Erie into Trenton Channel. I will say Trenton Channel is a lot shallower, and there's a lot of sections in Trenton Channel that are very snaggy. So just be careful. It's definitely a different feel if you're used to fishing up by the city. Going down to Trenton Channel, because it is a lot shallower, can catch you off guard. And also, with it being shallower, certain things seem to move a little quicker, and before you know it, boom, you're snagged. But yeah, I fished mouth of Erie all the way up to almost basically Lake St. Clair, and you can pretty much go anywhere on that river during that peak season, and you're going to be catching fish. I don't want to say it's easy, but if you got lines in the water in that time of year, you're going to have fun, and you're going to be catching fish. Let's see, I'm racking my brain here. I'm trying to think of what else, if there's anything else I want to say. Yeah, so wrapping up here, I just wanted to give it a few shouts out, especially to the bait shops over in Detroit. There's plenty, and unfortunately, I really can't remember the names of all of them that I've been to, but Dipnet, obviously, I'm going to try their route out this year, but you know how it goes. Awesome selection. They got everything you need. But I think I'm pretty positive it's just called Bait and Tackle Box. I'm pretty sure. It's right outside Trenton Channel, which is nice too. Hit it right in the morning. They're open early. They got everything. And I mean, you can load up on jig heads, plastics, all of the above, and they got them. And yeah, I wish I could remember the rest of the names. I've been to a couple other bait shops out there, but basically preface with support your local bait shops. When you're out in Detroit, fishing the rivers, even just stop in, say, hey, buy a sticker, support local. That's a big time of year for them. That's a lot of times what those bait shops will count on. So go stop in, tell them you appreciate them, thanks for doing what you do. Buy a couple plastics, never hurt nobody, but keep those places alive, because that's what's keeping us coming, right? Also, live bait. I didn't even talk about this. So, live bait. A lot of people do minnows. Basically, you'll just tip it. You got your jig head, throw a minnow through the bottom of the jaw, and then I throw my stinger on top. That works really well too. I do think, though, not necessary at all. My first few years there, I was always using live bait. And it works, obviously. Caught plenty of fish, caught my limits. But do I think it can be more of a hassle to get live bait in the morning? Every time you lose it, throw new live bait on? Yes. Honestly, last season, I didn't want to waste any time. I wanted to keep my rods in the water, keep my line in the water, and I'd say the people we were fishing with, I caught just as many fish, just a jig head, no live bait, compared to people that were using live bait on their jigs. totally try it. If you're struggling with just the jig head fishing, I say definitely try it. Definitely throw some minnows on, because you will catch fish. But if you're catching fish without them, don't even bother. I mean, seriously, don't even bother. Keep that line in the water. If you got to retie. But chances are you're going to be losing those minnows more often than not. Spending time getting them out of the bucket when you could just have your line in the water, catching more fish. But I do think that about wraps it all up. I guarantee I forgot things that I'd like to say, but I wanted to get a video out. I've just been thinking about it, so I definitely will be making videos going over to Detroit, and I'm sure I'll remember all the things I forgot, and I'll talk about it then. But thank you guys. I really appreciate checking it out. I hope you learned something. I hope I didn't just ramble on for too long. And hopefully I will be able to get out here in a couple days, do some salmon fishing videos for you. I've got some cool ideas as far as videos, did some different style stuff. So yeah, look forward to getting more out to you, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, that is okay. I appreciate you clicking on the video, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. Peace.